Alrighty, we are back. We are live. Hello, everybody. We are going to be starting group number 2 of our capstone presentations here. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to have my panelists just briefly introduce themselves to you guys so you know who's going to be paneling. I do have a new panelist joining me for the second half here. So I'm going to throw it on over briefly. I'm going to let Peter do a little quick introduction. You've already seen Peter from the first half, but in case you're watching this in isolation, I'll let Peter do a short introduction of who he is. He'll be paneling for us today. So Peter, if you would.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. So if you weren't here for the first half, my name is Peter Jang. I am the Dean of Instruction at Actualize. I also teach usually the Chicago evening cohorts. We haven't been having in-person cohorts for a while, but we'll actually be starting up soon. Yeah, and I've been here for about 6 years. I've definitely seen a lot of different projects through my time here, and it's very exciting to see what everybody has worked on. And I also know how hard everybody has worked to accomplish what they've done. Some people have sacrificed many a sleepless night, hopefully not too many, and hopefully all well refreshed and rested to present now. But it takes a lot of work to build an app to completion. So everybody's got a lot to be proud of, and I'm excited to see the projects.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. And I'm also going to introduce my second panelist, Tori, and have Tori tell us a little bit about her background and what she's doing now. So Tori, if you would.
Hey everybody, like Danny said, I'm Tori. I work at a company called Galvanize. My position is a software engineer on the product team. So even though it's an education company, we have a very small team with just 4 developers, 1 PM, and we do software that teaches people to learn to code from anywhere from Tech Elevator, US Air Force, Space Force, and a bunch of different companies. So I just make all the learning stuff, which is kind of fun. My job is full stack. I manage 6 applications along with the other developers, and we do everything from AWS, Ruby on Rails, Heroku deploys, Go, Node, and just a lot of context switching. So it's fun. So but what you learned here will definitely be a nice fodder for helping you launch onwards. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Tori. And yes, fun fact, Tori was my student once upon a time, very long ago. The dream right there. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. I'm going to throw it over to our very first presenter of group number 2, which is Ben McFadden. So go ahead, Ben, take it away.
All right, got it. So can you all see my screen? So I am Ben McFadden. I'm from Ohio, and the main reason that I wanted to build this app is I play a lot of League of Legends. It's basically an online game that that helps to basically build some teamwork, and it consists of 5 players, each doing a different role. It can be kind of hard to organize that all into one team if you have 5 friends, and it just kind of gets into a mess. So I made this. You can obviously sign in, and the neat thing is this is all of the data that you would ever really need to input into this. Just your in-game name, your region, and then just some login information. So, but I'll log into a user that I have already. And it goes to what would be a brand new user page. So this is someone who's just made an account, and this sets up all of the data on here would not have been entered by hand. This comes directly from the game server's API. So you have your individual ranking, your abilities, things like that. And he did also build a team, which is right now empty because that's what most new players would do. They'd sign on and create a team with nobody in it. And that's what a brand new user would look at. They also have an option to go to a list of teams that have been created by other users and have been listed as public. There's a private option that you can do as well, which these obviously wouldn't show up here. In that case, you just share a link. And you can find a team here, MLG All-Stars. That sounds great to join. And then on your way in here, this actually has your whole team with all of the members in it. Right now it has 5 because typical teams have 5 players. And you can actually tell which role they play. their secondary role, if you want to change things up, and it is really good to be versatile in multiple roles. It also has their individual ranked information there. So it can kind of help when you're building a team based on specifically Clash, which is like a mini tournament base. And you can help match people together that are pretty much the same rank, and you have a team that's on the same page. And you kind of just hit the ground running. You know exactly where you're starting out, who's doing what, and things like that. And also on this page, these are all user links. So you can even go to another user and check out more data on them. This is actually my user. And I have a little bio in here, which you can also add at a later time, make it a little bit more customizable. I'm obviously quite a bit less skilled than the first user because bronze. But and you can essentially get all of the information that you need together and all in one place, which is very difficult from the actual League of Legends client because it's just a very long list of names and you have no idea what role anyone does. But I really like this. And it's I'm very excited to actually start getting to use it now that I have a little bit more free time. One thing that I would like to say that I had an absolutely amazing time with building something like this is working with the Riot API, because all of the information that pertains to each user's account and basically stats is available, which means I have a lot of data to parse through. Every time that you actually go to a team page, so for instance, like this team, this is actually pulling live data from the servers. So there's very little that actually needs to be added to each user. It keeps everything organized in a way that you can basically see it very easily. All of these icons are your active icons in game. So a lot of people may be searching through their friends list visually. It's right there. And you might have like 2 different names that are similar. You can always go with the summoner icons, which is what those are. And then, yeah, I'm very excited to keep moving forward as far as playtesting, because this is going to be a very fun app to be able to use with my friends who also play the league. And as far as joining a team, that's it right there. All you need to do is put in your primary role and your secondary role, and if you're willing to, branch out into another role if needed or not. And you can basically do that here. Say he wants to play mid, mid, or ADC, and he's pretty stuck on that. He can join it, and of course, the team show page is the longest loading page because it's actually making API calls to the Riot API for every single one of them. And each user actually takes I think it's about 4 API calls with this specific build. So I'm probably going to work on streamlining that process a bit, but I'm very excited to see how this entire app goes. Yeah, and it's kind of neat to see that it ended up like this, seeing I started from a point where I was like, if someone asked me to do this 12 weeks ago, I was like, I might be able to do that. And now it's like, absolutely, this is awesome. I'm very excited about it. So that is effectively my app. So if you had any questions, I would be more than happy to hear them.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. I make a special appearance in this app, by the way. That's me right there, that little silver cup. I am a big League of Legends player myself, and so yeah, I make a little special appearance over here. And there's my actual data. That is my actual icon that he pulled from the actual Riot API. So amazing job, Ben. This is a very complicated API to work with. So I will throw it over to
bio.
I had no idea that was there. That is hilarious. My bios, it depends. That is my catchphrase. I'm going to throw it on over to Peter for a few questions.
Yeah, this is an awesome app, Ben. Really amazing stuff. And it's sometimes difficult to appreciate how much complexity is going on to just one page like that. So I'd like to dig into that a little bit. This specific page, what was it like working with the Riot API? And you mentioned like each user takes 4 requests. So could you break that down just in broad terms, like what kind of complexity is going on into displaying the data on this page?
Yeah, actually working with the Riot API was really cool. Um, it's kind of complicated, but it's by no means made complicated by them. It's complicated because of the amount of data that's available that you have to go through. They actually have done a great job with documentation. I really enjoyed it, and so I'm also excited about adding stuff to this. As far as the API calls, basically just a really quick version is the main thing that you would use is this summoner name right here. I just didn't mean to click there. But that will actually send to the Riot API based on that summoner name. And then it will return, in my case, 3 different encrypted keys that you use to access different parts of the API. I am currently using summoner rank information, also just normal summoner information for the icons, and something that I was not really able to show yet, but I do actually have the backend logic for is the champion masteries, which is how good you are with each character in the game. Um, I left that out because I have a limited number of API uses, and that really bogs that down. So it's kind of you use an API call, get the information back, process that data, and make another API call based on the previous basically method that I used for that. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like I said, there's a tremendous amount of complexity that goes into some of these pages. So that being said, I'm just a little bit curious. With an app that relies so heavily on the API, did you feel like your backend was relatively simplistic, or were there any things in the backend that you felt were interesting challenges as you were building an app like this?
the backend was definitely the bigger part of the project, where it's where I spent the most time. And it's just, I had a lot of data to run through and a lot of data to not really modify, but a lot of logic in the backend to run through and push it to the front end. So I felt like didn't have nearly as much time as I wanted on the front end. So obviously the team icons wasn't there, but I actually really enjoyed the backend. I'm kind of a backend guy anyway, so.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. And this is like a tremendous foundation where everything is already, set in place. And so you can think of whatever new features you want to add on top of this is going to be very easy to incorporate. So yeah, this is very cool. Congrats. This is an awesome app.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ben, for showing us your app. And yes, so much logic to go into building this. So congratulations on all of that. I will throw it over to our next presenter, Ian.
Let me get set up. Can everybody hear me okay? Thumbs up. Cool. So my web app is called Planner, and it's a way for you to plan a trip online. And this idea came about because my girlfriend and I travel a lot. And usually what we do is populate a Google Doc with lots of links and relevant information, and it just kind of sucks doing it that way. So I created this as a solution to that. So this is the landing page. I created all of these little graphics in Photoshop, which was really fun. All of my links down here work. But so I'll go ahead and click sign up. And it prompts you if you have an account, you can just log in. So I do have an account. I'm going to log in. And when you log in, it takes you to an index page and it shows you some trips that I've already built out here. But I'm going to go ahead and create a new trip. So it asks you for some things. This can be anything. I'm going to write Actualize HQ because I want to go visit the campus. And so we say our city is Chicago and our state is Illinois. And I've got a cover image already. So I'm going to put that in there. So you get a little toast in the bottom right to show that it was created. And then it pops up right here. And it prompts you to add a business or edit your trip to get started. So we'll add a business. And it takes you to a search page. And this asks for a term and a location. So I'm going to look for vegan food because I'm vegan and I love to eat. And so we're going to look for vegan food in Chicago. So when you search, this pulls data from Yelp's Fusion API. You can see a star rating, a name, a location. I've got a business link in here that you can click. It'll open in a new tab and you can get more information straight from Yelp, maybe some more user images or business hours. And we've got a cost. Yelp does it on a scale. So the more dollar signs on the cost, the more expensive it is. And you've got a phone number. So I'm going to look for some businesses to add. The sushi looks good. So I'll click this drop down here that says select trip and pick Actualize. And it populates on all of our drop downs so you can batch add businesses. So the sushi looks good. This burger looks good. And maybe this pizza. So now that I've got some trips added, I'm going to go back to my index page. And you can see that that prompt is now gone and I can load into the trip. So when I click more info, we've got a loading bar. So Danny actually helped me with that. That was a really cool feature because otherwise it just took forever for the backend to load. So that was fun to do. But now that we've loaded in, you can see I integrated Mapbox here. And these markers auto-populate based off of coordinates from the backend. And so you can click them, you can zoom in, you can look at street cross sections. And I thought this was a neat way to kind of visualize how far apart certain things that you add are. But then you can scroll down and you can see all of the businesses you added again with a rating, a name, a location, a link. The phone number actually links to FaceTime audio. So you can call a business straight from your computer if you're on the computer, or you can tap that link on your iPhone and it'll let you call the business. And you can also write comments. So if you maybe saw something on the menu, like California roll, you could write like yummy California roll, just so you remember what it was about that business you like. And then if you decide you don't like something, you can remove it from your trip. Like that pizza looks a little gross, so I'll take it off. And then you can also search for events. This is through the Yelp developer beta API. So again, you can type in a location and it will populate a list based off of popularity. So you'll get a name, a location, again, another link that will open a new tab and allow you to buy tickets or look at a rating for past events. Just any other information you would need would be right there. And then you've got cost and a little blurb. The API just returns a blurb because it can't anticipate how long a description will be. So you can see we've got a lot of duplicates. They all start at different times, but let's see. The cruise sounds good. Again, you've got the same drop down and it lets you batch add, so I can add a few. And when you go back to your trips and your trip show, you'll get the little loading bar. And then the map will populate gold markers for events, which is pretty neat. And they have the same functionality where you can click them, see what they are, and again, write comments. But something happened, I can't make it anymore. I'm gonna delete the trip. And I have this New York trip built out and I wanna share it with some friends. So I've integrated a Twitter share feature. And that's right below the trip title. So when you have a trip built out with all of your comments and businesses that you're really interested in going to, you can click share. It'll open another window. I'm logged in as me on Twitter and you can just tweet right there. If it was live, obviously it wouldn't say localhost. And that is Planner. In the future, I definitely want to deploy this. I think that'd be really cool. And I would also like to make it so users could invite their friends to also build out trips with them. I think that would be a great feature. But that is pretty much it. The user profile is very basic. You can just edit your information in your picture or delete your account. But yeah, that's Planner. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ian. I'd also like to point out that in the practice presentation yesterday, Ian's reason was not something happened. It was that he found out that Danny was going to be at that trip. So I do appreciate you sort of switching gears on this, but it has been noted.
Yeah. We have made up beef. It's okay.
I'm going to throw it over to Tori to ask some questions.
Sure.
Yeah, Planner looks fantastic. And I like the extra bit of fancy that you added with all the different APIs you integrated. The Twitter was a super nice touch.
Thank you.
Question that I have for you is the images on, I think your, was it your businesses endpoint? Like that have all the, like, where did that come from? Is that also drawn in from the Yelp API?
Like when you search for a business?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all of the data is from Yelp's API.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was it looks like you definitely put a lot of emphasis into your front end and how it looks. Did you put more
Right.
like into the front end, or was it like back end heavy a lot too?
It was like very back-end heavy. Parsing like Yelp's API was not the best. So I think when I first started, it was really difficult. But once I like worked with it over and over, it got easier. But yeah, it was like really hard to parse some of that.
Nice. Well, cool. And I like your next steps for deployment. Do you know where you're going with that?
Yeah, well, to deploy, I have to contact Yelp because the API limit is so low. But so that's like step one, and then I can figure out like hosting. But yeah.
And I guess my last question is like, what did you enjoy most like of all this? Because you have a lot of cool stuff added.
Yeah, I definitely like, I love full stack. So like, I love both the front and the back, but like doing the logic on the back end is really fun. That's my favorite part of the back end. And then just like the visual stuff on the front end is, I like making everything look aligned and spaced right and just like color matching. And so I have fun with all of it. Yeah.
It's great.
Thanks.
It looks great. Nicely done.
Yeah. Awesome job, Ian. Yeah, this is one of those apps where Ian was, fully featured everything. And he's like, I've done everything. Like, what do I put in now? And we had some conversations about new features, and that led to putting in events. And yeah, overall amazing job, really well featured, very good at time management. So well done to you. I think it shows. I am going to throw it on over to our next presenter, is going to be Benjamin D.
Can you see the screen? Okay, cool. Get set up real quick. Hi, my name is Benjamin Dixon. I live in Chicago on the north side. I built an app that I call WeFlix. The point of this app is for, I don't know about you, but choosing a movie with a significant other can sometimes be a huge pain in the butt. It can take a long time. You end up spending more time trying to pick out a movie than you would prefer. So I tried to address that problem by building this app that allows you to connect with your partner as individual users. And then as individual users, you get to scroll through movies, picking out what you would like to add to a watch list. And the thing about this app is a watch list is not generated until both users have liked the same movie. So there aren't individual watch lists. It's just for the both of you, movies that you both have chosen. So I'm going to go ahead and walk through that real quick. First, I want to show the aspect of connecting with a partner. So I have a few users already built out in here. So here we have Timon. Down here I have this relationship management bar. It's empty right now because Timon's not in a relationship, but I can search for his partner's username. Partner is obviously Pumbaa. And then here we have the request relationship button. I can hit that. We can see the request was sent. So I'll log out real quick, log in as Pumbaa. And we see that he has gotten a relationship request. So now the relationship is approved. And of course, you can end the relationship if you so desire, but we're not going to do that right now because Timon and Pumbaa are inseparable. So now I'm going to go ahead and log in actually as my wife. So we have that. So once you're connected with your partner, you can go ahead and browse movies through my third-party API, the movie database API. And so we'll have a list of movies. I have the poster, the title, the release date, the running time, brief description. Then also have a link here that takes you to YouTube. And there we'll see the preview. So that's pretty cool. So then we can like movies, we can pass on them if we don't like them, don't want to add them. Gonna like a few. And we can see top here that a favorite was created, which means my partner liked that movie. So I can dismiss and go to favorites. Here we will see ourselves and our partner's information if we want to build out those bios a little more. This isn't really meant to be a social app, so there's not really a ton of information for the users to display. It's mostly just to get this watch list. And so here we have a list of movies that we've both liked. Again, we have the poster, release date, genre, and also we have here, if we want to click, again, this will take us to YouTube, or we can see the trailer for the movie. And so we'll get rid of that. If there's a movie that we've watched or we've decided we actually don't want on here anymore, we can go ahead and go to this icon, remove from watch list. It'll ask us if we really want to do that. We say yes, and it's gone. And so that is and then I also have this cool little button that'll take you to the top of the screen, and we have remove from watch list. So that is the gist of the app. It's mostly, I spent most of my time on the back end. It's pretty complicated trying to connect users and create partner information, be able to call information from your partner. And so I'm just going to show real quick some of that code. So this is from my user. So this is how a relationship is defined. So relationship is made when I make a request and I'm given a sender ID. And so then the recipient, once they've accepted the request, they're given the recipient ID. And that's also how we define them as a partner. So you need those IDs in order to be able to call information from your partners. So that's just a little bit from the back end, the logic that I was doing. So thanks for listening, and open to any questions you have.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Benjamin. Back-end logic being complicated, I think, is an understatement. And I think that this is a testament to that. So I'll throw it on over to Tori to ask a few questions.
I love that you created an app that would actually solve a real world problem that I have. So that's pretty cool. So I'd like to start with that. But yeah, this is really nice. It looks really good. You said the backend was really complicated. If you had to do like a hindsight's 2020 kind of thing, like again, from what you learned, what would you do a little differently this time around? Or if I like a version 2 kind of round?
Yeah, I don't know if I would have tackled this problem if how complicated it would have been. Danny told me from my idea that it would be pretty complicated, and in my head I was like, it can't be like super complicated, and it was actually pretty complicated. Just trying to go through the making likes on this browse movies page, and like the logic for if a movie's been liked already, don't show that movie. If your partner has liked the movie, then it becomes a favorite. Just figuring out how to do that that took me a while. And I can't say that it was fun to get it right, but the amount of time I spent on it was not as fun.
Yeah, I feel you on that. We probably learned a lot, which is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm assuming then if you had to pick front and back end, what did you enjoy building more of this? Even though I think I know the answer.
Yeah, working on the front end was a lot more fun. I think I have like a list of things I would love to add to the app. Just through the front end, I think that a combination of this app with like Katie's who went before, and Sophie who's about to go, would be like a very cool app idea.
Well, cool. And if you had to pick one more feature you were going to add to this, what would you do?
There are a few. I'd love to add a browse shows, be able to add a shows watch list. Also, when a favorite is created, I would love for like a ding that notifies you I couldn't quite figure that out. I was working on that at the end, but couldn't quite figure out how to get it going. So I'm sure I'm close, but yeah, just a few things like that.
Cool. Well, look great. So good job.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Benjamin. And yeah, Benjamin noted that it would be cool to sort of combine forces with some of the other students who also build movie stuff. And that is a nice segue into my next presenter, Sophie.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Sophie Fishman. I live in Chicago, Illinois. And this is my app called Premonition, What Will You Watch Next? The idea behind this app is to help a user keep track of their favorite sci-fi movies, get recommendations for what they've liked, and also kind of keep a journal or like a log. Because for me, I feel like I watch a ton of sci-fi movies. I can never remember like the full title or like which scene goes with which movie, and especially in like the sci-fi like neo-noir thrillers, they all kind of, the themes blend together after a while. So yeah, so this is the homepage. These are just hard-coded posters, movie posters of sci-fi movies that I like, and we are going to have a user experience. So you can sign up for Premonition or log in. So we are going to log in as foxmulder at xfiles.com. And once we log in, it takes you to the user's profile. So we can update Fox's name or email address. So Fox is embarrassed about his nickname, so we're gonna update that for him. And then you can delete the profile here as well. So Fox watched a movie last night on Netflix. He can't quite remember the title, but it had the word guest in it. So we are going to search guest, and that makes a call to the API and pulls any movie that has the word guest in the title and populates this list here. It'll pull up the movie poster, the title, as well as a brief overview that I've truncated to make it so that they're all kind of in line with each other. So this is the one that Fox watched last night on Netflix. So when you click on the poster, it takes you to the movie's show page. So it'll show you the poster, the title, as well as the release date, and then that same overview. When you scroll down, the page also shows you what you might also like depending on the movie that you clicked. And so this actually is making 2 calls to the API, but I combine them to make one. So I can show that in my code because it's kind of cool. So this is 2 API calls, and then I connected them by using the append to response, and it attaches recommendations to the movie that you've clicked on. So then that way, when we go and click on a movie, it also shows you the recommendations, and it's a little faster because it's just doing it all in one. So at the bottom of the page, after you look through recommendations, you can go back to searching the movies. But we really liked that movie Guest, so we're gonna go ahead and add that to Fox's favorites. So you can click on this button here, and it takes you to the favorites page. So Fox is a big movie buff, so he's got a big list of sci-fi movies that he enjoys. The most recent one will be at the bottom, and Fox likes to write reviews in his spare time, so he already had that. And we can go ahead and update that review. And if you wanted to, you could delete it. And this, yeah, you can keep going back and adding more movies. And yeah, we can go ahead and log out. I had a lot of fun with like the front end and the CSS. So I implemented like 2 Google fonts to override the theme. So this one here, as well as this one. I also created the slime header in Photoshop and put that there, as well as adding the skull icon to the tab and the nav bar. And then adding like some, playing around with CSS to make the font look more neon. And I think that going forward, what I'd like to add on to this would be the ability to also look at shows. My original idea was for the TV shows, but upon feasibility research with the API, it just wasn't something that I had a lot to work with. But I think now the designer of the API has added more features to that. So I also would like to have, when you click on a movie, that maybe there's a link for some like fan art, because going and looking through kind of like the posters for movies, they're really cool, and a lot of people do like alternative posters. So kind of connecting people who are like fans as well as like being able to keep track of your own movies. But yeah, thank you for listening, and let me know if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you, Sophie, for your presentation and your slime. I will throw it on over to Tori to ask a couple of questions.
Sure. Yeah, Sophie, it looks great. And I like that you guys are all using Photoshop too. You have like a bunch of design people in here, which is cool. It looks really nice and really clean. I was going to ask you which feature, I love the double API call too, that with the append, that was pretty clever. But what feature were you most excited or happiest within this new project?
I think just there is a lot of data that the API provides, and I think on the back end, just kind of parsing through the data that you can access, as well as like adding it to the favorites and populating the results and then pulling certain things from there. I had a lot of fun with, but it was also very testing. It was a lot of trial and error. So yeah, that was probably like the most fun, but also most difficult part.
For sure. Yeah, and I was going to ask you, the notes that you added on each movie, are those reviews like for you personally, so you like remember what you liked or didn't like, or is that something that you're going to make public?
It could be public. I think for me, like me personally, like I like a specific scene that to me sticks out and I can't necessarily like remember. So it's like a journal thing for the user, but also I would like to add the ability to have like, to be able to share it, and like Benjamin was saying, like kind of morphing all of our movie apps together could make one quite the user experience, I think, for user movie lovers. But yeah, so this is just for like someone who is like a nerd and likes to really dive into like the ethos of sci-fi movies and kind of write notes on it like I do.
I love that, especially after quarantine, you watch so many movies, you forget which ones have what details. So
Yeah.
I feel you. That's a fantastic feature.
Yeah. Just
So,
kind of like, this symbol like means this thing, but maybe that's not something you'd remember after not seeing the movie for a while. So just kind of making notes of that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it looks great, and looking forward to seeing more iterations if you do more.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Sophie. And I'm going to bring it on over to our next presenter. I think Ashley, you're up.
Can you see my screen? Okay. So I'm Ashley. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. This is an app I created because my sister has a baby and a second baby on the way, and she's constantly on the move and needing to like have like a stroller for when she's visiting my parents, and like you can't always lug all that stuff on the plane, and her husband plays hockey in Europe, so like they're back and forth between Europe and the hockey season, and she's constantly like trying to sell stuff that he's either outgrown or just stuff that was on her registry because it was the first kid, and it turns out he didn't really need that or like it or whatever. And she's always on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, and she always says how frustrating it is, like that there's not just one place to kind of do this for moms, because a lot of moms are in the same position as her, where you're like needing to switch stuff out. So this is kind of like the landing page, and then you can, if you click this, it takes you over to the login page. And if you if you don't have an account, you can click sign up there, which then takes you to the sign up page, which is also up here. So that's everything you need to sign up. But I have an account, so I will just log in. And then once you log in, it takes you to the products page, and all of these are displayed in order of like what was most recently posted. And then you can also filter up here by like category, which then brings up just the things that you're like interested in. Or you can, and then once you're in that category, you can also then search if you wanted to within it, or just filter by category. And then if you want to post a new product yourself, you can either click that there on this page, or it's also up here. So for example, if I was going to post a new listing, I can just put the information in here, then pick a category. This is a stroller, the condition. You can check this, like if you'd be willing to like trade it rather than sell it, which I think is a nice feature to have, and then create. And once you create it, it takes you to the edit page for it, which is where you would go ahead and add an image for the product and add, save, and then it takes you to your listing. So you can see that like it's listed, you're live. And then if you go back to the products page, you'll see it's at the top because it was the most recently added item. So then if you go here, since this is my own listing, I can edit from here and just kind of, I can like remove that picture, change, like say that it's sold, save. And then once it's sold, that kind of badge shows up, but it's still listed on the website, because I think it's kind of nice. Like you're like, oh, this person sold this, but let me check out their profile and see if they're selling anything else. So that kind of brings me to the profile page, which shows the username, the zip code that they're in, their email address, and then all the products they have sold, like listed, whether they're sold or unsold. And from there, so basically, yeah, so if I go back to the products page, if I'm like interested in this, and so this is not mine, so I can't edit it, but I could contact the seller just through this, or I could go to her profile and see if she has other things, and then just shoot her an email that way. And some of the things I wanted to eventually incorporate in this, which I just didn't have time to, was to do like I think like an in-app messaging feature would be really handy to have, just so you could like message them without having to send an email. And another thing would be like when you're doing a new product, having the using Cloudinary to be able to upload the images would be definitely nice to have. As well as for like the profile picture, like it's not as important for that. And oh yeah, and this is like the edit profile button, so you could change any of your information here. And then if you delete your profile, it deletes all of your listings with it, so you wouldn't have to worry about someone still like emailing you about something when you're like shutting it down. Same as if you delete a product, it's completely gone, and all the images associated with it are gone off the site, so it's not just like hanging out there. Yeah, so that's kind of most of the features. I think there's a bunch of different things that could be added to this when I have time to update it further, like doing it where you could sort only by people that are like within a certain distance of your zip code. So like you'd know that they're local for like bigger things. I think you also do like a thing where people are willing to like ship stuff. So if they weren't local, it would still show up within that. But for right now, this would only be like able to be used in like one city. That would like, because it's, I haven't made that feature yet. But yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Ashley. And I'm going to pass it over to Tori for a few questions.
Great. This looks fantastic, and it's also another thing I'd probably use. So this is, I was wondering, what made you make the decision to build the feature so that you contact users via email? Was it?
Well, I wanted to do the in-app messaging. I didn't get that far, but I think email, I mean, it's kind of similar to like Craigslist, which just makes it easy. It takes it off there. So if people want to like go back and forth and have like a lot of conversations, like sometimes, and I also like, I was considering listing people's cell phone numbers if they like, if optionally, like if they would prefer text or email. So that'd be another thing I could maybe add. Because some people might prefer just to get a quick text about something.
That makes sense. I also really like the color scheme too. Like the pinks and the blues and the yellows. Is that all part of your template, or
the theme kind of had like a purple, like for like this underline, but like the landing, this I found online, and same for like the log out. Once you log out, the sign in and log in. I just found it, which was fun.
It's beautiful. It makes a really nice first impression.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so what feature of like, because you have a lot, what did you enjoy building the most out of this?
I think the thing that taught me the most was figuring out how to which doesn't seem like it should be that complicated, but the filtering by category, because the categories are like on their own table, and you also want to make it like dynamic. So if I were to ever like change a category, you wouldn't have to go back in and change it everywhere. So that was like, and I think that's an important feature. So that was interesting to me, to like kind of took longer than I expected, but definitely was a learning moment.
For sure. It looks great. It's a nice app, and yeah, definitely usable. Worth it.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashley, for presenting. Ashley was a super independent worker and just chugged away at this piece by piece. And I think it did finally come together in a really great way. All right. I'm going to pass it on over to our very next presenter, Jamie.
All right. Hear and see everything well? All right. So hi, my name is Jamie Denver, coming at you from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and my app is called Use Your Words. One of my very, coolest hobbies is brushing up on my vocabulary, and I wanted to make a vocab learning app that was actually fun and engaging and utilize active learning instead of rote memorization. And that's why I created Use Your Words, the vocabulary and creative writing app. And let's see how it works. I'm going to jump right into logging in to give a better picture of some of the app's features. And after logging in, the user is taken directly to the words index, which contains a bank of curated vocabulary words in alphabetical order. And this is where the user picks a word they'd like to learn. So to pick one, let's see, I'll go with abound. Click the word, and I'm taken to the main activity page. And this is really the page that puts the use in Use Your Words app. And I think the best way to explain it is to just kind of take you through the process by following the arrows. Here you'll see the word I clicked on the previous page becomes this page header, which in turn points me to the random prompt generator. I can use the prompt that loaded automatically on the page, or I can click through the various image and text-based prompts until I find one I'd like to use. I'll just go through a couple here. Okay, and so I've chosen a prompt, and now to follow the arrows to where I will use my word right here. What you do is using the prompt as inspiration, I could say like finish a statement if it's text, or try to explain what's going on in an image, or create a caption, or you can really write whatever you want, as much or as little as you want. And basically the goal is just to try your best to use the word correctly. And this is where learning vocab actively, along with working those creative writing muscles, comes into play. So before I begin that, what if I realize that I don't know what abound means? That's why I put in the words definition, synonyms, and example sentence here. And that's so that the user can try to summon the words. Well, I hid them so that the user can try to summon the words meaning for themselves if they so choose, to promote active learning and recall. But of course, if you're like encountering the word for the first time, or you simply use a refresher, it's also here for that. We use it. And for this word data and for the lexical category here, and which I recently learned lexical categories, how you describe like a verb or noun or whatever. I use the Oxford Dictionary app. But anyway, to get back to the activity at hand, I'll just write a simple sentence using the word in the prompt. So say, rage abounds. Seems to be some sort of battle going on there. And when I press submit, I'm taken to a catalog of the writings I've done so far. And here's some of them to look at. And from here, if I'd like to edit or expand upon, or God forbid, delete one of my examples, I just click on the selection and I'm taken to the show page. And here it has all the relevant information, the prompt, your work, the word, and here I can either edit it, so like rage abounds, make that more meaningful. See that worked here, but actually I'm sick of it, so I delete it. And now I'm back to my writing catalog with that gone. So that's really the meat of this. I'll show you one more thing. This is just a simple profile page with the name and email. You can edit your email and delete your account, which I would not do. Yeah, so when I was coming up with the idea for this app, I didn't really fully grasp how much the app I had rattling around in my head would depend upon custom design for it to like realize its potential, or like a portion of its potential, because like it's already a vocabulary app. So I really had to work to root out all of their potential sources of boredom, like aesthetic or otherwise. So trying to make this work within the confines of a pre-made theme template was pretty difficult. I had to learn a lot about implementing custom design on the fly, lots of trial and error. It took a while, and it was a challenge, but it ended up being actually a lot of fun. And I'm really excited to actually expand upon this in the future. I'd like to make it sort of a broader vocabulary playground with different activities and games. Something like a synonym game where like you have a timer to fill as many synonyms as you can, with the app actively checking the words against data supplied by the API. Different word banks for different categories, like one for SAT words, literature terms, film terms, whatever specialized languages. Different user groups for classes, school, groups of friends who can make their own word banks, have a shared repository for their work. And I would also like to add maybe a social aspect with upvoting a la Reddit, with leaderboards, with most entertaining or the best mnemonic devices, without the toxicity. And yep, I just remind myself to slow down right now. And that about does it. Thanks for stopping by.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. I'm going to throw it on over to Tori for a couple of questions.
This is pretty fantastic, and I appreciate it a lot because it's ed tech. And you're thinking about where the users are coming from in terms of active learning, which is great. My question is, you said there was a lot of complexity of how you organized it all. Did anything turn out easier than you thought when you were figuring this all out?
I think maybe this page of the words index was pretty, because I had gotten the v4 loop down pretty well, but I was like, oh God, how am I going to alternate like the assignment of these individual colors from my color palette? onto them, and that really just add another argument to the and have a stock of colors in your data. And so that was, yeah, like it was pretty straightforward. Tried it and it worked, and that was cool.
That's awesome. And then did you enjoy like the back end portion of like figuring out that kind of logic more, or did the front end, which one spoke to you most?
I think the front end just sort of naturally dragged me in. It's what I became more obsessed with, like in a good way, like what I would think about away from the computer, and like, how is this going to work? How is this going to work? And just making it work. Although I was surprised actually also by, I enjoyed parsing the custom method for the API, and just sort of, because when that worked, it's just kind of like pulling out a little gold nugget from a pan. I don't know. It was just, that's also a magical feeling. So I like them both, but the front end and having it being able to see the results in something that I aesthetically pleasing was satisfying.
Nice. And the last thing is, I loved those image prompts. Did you load those in, or did you get those from an API somewhere?
Oh yeah, I loaded those in. Those are
those were great.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Yes, of course. Jamie's personal taste and humor came very much into this application. And personally, I think it came in really well. I really like that duck with the cigarette prompt. That one's one of my favorites.
Me too. That was like the first one, and it was all, yeah.
It was just out from there.
Kept me going. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I'm going to pass it on to our next presenter, Sam.
All right. All right, so my name's Sam Bruce. I live in Memphis, Tennessee, and I love cooking from home and all things that sort of involve cooking. And I sort of hate the whole process of finding a recipe and making a grocery shopping list, going out, buying a bunch of groceries, and then you have leftovers after you make that recipe that you went out and found. So I sort of made this app. It's called In the Pantry, to sort of streamline the whole process of how groceries work. So when you get to the website, you're shown this page. It's just a simple login and register page, and I'll go ahead and log in with an account I already have made. All right, and when you log in, you're shown this. It's pretty much the home page of the website. It's where you can have your pantry. And on this page, you can sort of toggle on and off what you have in your pantry at the time. And you can see they're sort of split up into 3 columns and sorted alphabetically. And so we have the ability to add more ingredients on this page, which I'll show you right now. We'll go ahead and add some avocados, or an avocado. And then you can add a lime, let's say. So when you add your ingredients, they're automatically toggled that you do have it right now. And you can sort of go through as you run out of ingredients and turn those off. So we can turn off, let's say, blackberries and thyme. And this will automatically populate a grocery list up here. And it's just a simple little list you can take to the grocery store. And as you go through the grocery store, have ingredients, you can say you've purchased them. And when you purchase them, it goes away from this list and it populates the I currently have it again. So when you're back on the ingredients page, you can sort of figure out what you're ready to cook with. And let's say we want to cook with avocados, limes, and chicken today. When you do that, you have them all selected, and you can click this big cook with these chosen ingredients button, and it takes us to a recipe index. And this is calling a third-party API. It's actually the same one that Andrew had. It's called Spoonacular. And when we're clicking each of these ingredients, it's creating a string, and it's making this sort of request in the query, and it's sending that to the back end. in order to get the recipes. So here we can sort of scroll through, look at different recipes on this page. Each recipe has a little picture. You have the option to bookmark it from here. You can view it, and it sort of shows exactly what ingredients that you're looking for are included in this particular recipe. So let's look at the crock pot white chicken chili. So this is the recipe show page. From here, you have the option to bookmark an ingredient and add it to your recipe box. It shows the prep time up there, and then it sort of has a description, an image, and then below we have the directions and ingredients. At the bottom of this page, we have some related recipes to this one, and this is another API call for a similar recipes. And from here, we can look at this low fat, high taste crockpot white chicken chili. So this just takes us again to another recipe show page. And from here, we can go ahead and bookmark this recipe, and it'll take us to our recipe box. In this recipe box, it's just stuff that you've saved. It shows the prep time, it shows the recipe, and from here you have the option to delete this from the recipe box. So we'll go ahead and delete that one. One thing that I really wanted to add to this, but just couldn't get to it, was sort of making a way to plan out meals throughout the week with this feature. So say you wanted to plan out your meals throughout your weekdays, you could have a little chart that showed them. But yeah, I think most of my problems came on this page, sort of making the request on the front end. I think I sort of have a back end mind, so realizing that you can make requests and fill out queries on the front end and send them to the back end just didn't really register, and it was something that sort of took some time for me to go through and learn. But all that's left really is sort of a simple update page right here. And from here, you can just update your account and password and delete your profile if you want to. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you for presenting. Yes, I know that Sam was a super also independent worker and really got so much of this logic working on his own. I remember there were certain times where I'd meet up with Sam and I'd be like, all right, so what do you need to work on? He's like, yeah, well, I made all of this. And I'm like, what? And it was a little bit about refinement when we worked together because he was very independent, getting problem solved on his own. So I want to commend you for that. And I'm going to switch it up and throw it over to Peter for a couple of questions.
Yeah, awesome job, Sam. Just had a couple of questions about, you mentioned you were using the Spoonacular API for your recipes, and then you said there was a different API that you were using for recommendations. Did I catch that right?
It's calling the same API. It's just a different request that it's sent. So when we're sending a request to find a recipe with a cook with chosen ingredients, it's just a included ingredients request, but then there's a similar recipes request that gets sent inside of each recipe.
Got it. So did you find that the Spoonacular API had a lot of different requests that you could use to power your app? Have you considered adding additional APIs from different recipe APIs in order to add more features?
Yeah, the Spoonacular documentation was great. It's just a couple of the recipes, or a lot of the recipes actually, are just sort of finicky with the directions. Sometimes it wouldn't have them ordered correctly, or sometimes the ingredients weren't ordered, but they really did have a lot of options for ingredients even. So yeah, they had plenty of requests that you could call if you wanted to.
Yeah, I apologize. There's literally construction going right outside of my apartment, so I apologize right there. Yeah, and I'm just curious about this page. This page looks very well styled. Like you took all of the information from the API and you put all this into here. If you scroll down, look through the directions, you did a great job of just putting all this in a really beautiful format. And so you mentioned a little bit on back end and front end and some of the different challenges. What part of the app did you enjoy building the most, or what feature, or what area of it?
I think just grabbing all the data and parsing through it and getting it set up so that I could just plug it into the front end. The template sort of did a really nice job of showing recipes. So it was more about just making sure the data that I was sending forward was exactly what I wanted. And then when I got it there, it was pretty straightforward to just throw it onto the template.
Yeah. Well, it's always easier said than done. You know what I mean? Everybody finds a really nice theme and they're like, this is going to be perfect. And then they end up throwing out half of it because it doesn't really fit well. So the fact that you could take that from, that design template and bring in all the data and make it show up in a really great way is no small feat. So you had mentioned a couple features that you wanted to work on next. Is there any one in particular that would stand out as the next one you would work on first?
Yeah, I think I struggled a lot with splitting up the ingredients into the columns. And I think being able to categorize those a little better instead of just a long alphabetized list. So having them as fruits and vegetables and starches, I think things like that would be sort of easier to go through this list, because right now it's sort of overwhelming to look at all the content, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of really cool directions this can go. You had, sort of grocery lists, and then you said planning your week. So there's a lot of really cool areas for this to develop. So this is a great foundation. Awesome app.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, sweet. Yeah, thanks, Sam. A lot of logic went into this one. And yeah, Sam just also did so happen to pick a template that was like really designed for recipes and things like that. So it fits so seamlessly and it ends up looking really beautiful. All right, and I have one more student to present today. We are going to round out our presentations and cap it off with Ryan. Take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Ball. I live in Denver, Colorado, and I am going to be presenting my app called Sendero. Sendero means path or trail in Spanish, and it's one of my lifetime climbing goals is a route called El Sendero Luminoso. So that's kind of the inspiration. So here we've got the sign-in page, and also if you don't have an account, you can register here. And so I'm going to log in. Actually, sorry, a little background. So I'm a very passionate climber, but I also really love data, and the two really go hand in hand, which is great. It's very measurable, and you can set goals and track your progression, everything. So I've been doing that in Excel for the last few years, tracking all of my outdoor climbing and a lot of data related to that. So it was a great opportunity for me to build an app that allows me to visualize all that and enter it in a more efficient way and just interact with it in a much more enjoyable way. So I've got all of my data loaded to my profile. Sorry. Got some error message cheese, sorry. So here is my profile page. When you log in, this will be your landing page, and you'll be able to see your profile picture here. I've got some random quotes that will populate here, or maybe I'll add some other information as I go, but you can view your account info, edit that. I've got Cloudinary in here to update profile pictures, and so I can upload a photo there, update my profile picture, update any other information. And that would be cool to have a weather widget. I'm always checking weather for my favorite climbing areas and planning out my weekend where I want to go. So these are a few of my favorites. It's very hot in Vegas. And then another big piece of this is the graphing and data visualization. So I've got some graphs here. This comes from all of the data that I personally seeded. This is all the climbs I've done since I've started tracking, and so I by grade, and I work on a lot of 512A climbs, and so you can see I've attempted a lot of them, but sending a climb is when you successfully do it. And obviously I've sent a lot less. So, but it's cool to see all of that visualized by grade. And I also have, am breaking down all of the climbing days, outdoor climbing days I have per year. So I've got, I climbed a lot in 2020 and 2019. So hopefully I'll fill this out. And then another cool aspect. So actually going back to my data, I tried to integrate with Mountain Project API, but that's a huge climbing database. And unfortunately they stopped taking API requests about a year ago. And so I was lucky to find a huge database, a huge CSV file, like 100,000 routes that I seeded into my database, and it had latitude and longitude data for all of the routes in that file. So using that, I was able to map all of the climbing areas that I've been to using Mapbox and that latitude and longitude data, so I can see the names of all the crags that I've gone to, a lot in Colorado, obviously, but I love climbing near Vegas and in Utah, and hopefully years from now, this will be all over the world. So yeah, that's your profile page. And then kind of the biggest data heavy piece of all of this is your individual climbing records. And so that's what populates the graphs and everything. And so I climbed last weekend in Boulder, and here are all the climbs that I did on July 11th. And so you can see that I've got a link to the Mountain Project page for each route, and also you're able to view each route. I like to comment on all my routes, and especially ones that I'm working on. And I can see kind of who my belayer was and all of that information, edit that if I need to. And I've got a lot of, because I mean, there's just so much data here that I've got a lot of filtering. And so Wizard's Gate is one of my favorite areas to climb. So I'm able to search there. I can see all of the routes I've done there. And there's a specific route that I'm working on there. Oh, whoops, sorry, I spelled that wrong. Called the Gatekeeper. And so let's say that this weekend I'm going to Wizard's Gate to work on this route. And oops, that's not going to work. And so I can type in the Gatekeeper here. Oops. And that will populate the area and the crag, which is the specific wall. I'm going to say that's 512A, and I climbed with my buddy Tucker, and I finally sent the route. So I'm going to rate that. It's an awesome climb. And so I've got a new climbing record here. I can clear that out, and you'll see it populates at the top there. And that will update my graphing over here, so I can see I tried one more 12A and I sent one more. So yeah, and then the last piece of my app is the collections, where you're able to create collections of either specific places that you climb, or even a specific weekend or a specific trip that you go on. And so, like I said, I climb in Red Rock a lot outside of Vegas. And so I've got some pictures in here from the times that I've been there. And I'm also, I associated all of the routes that I've done there. And I've just got some highlights here of things that I love about it, or just any information that I want to remember, all the people I've climbed there with, and I can edit that, and then delete pictures, add new pictures, and yeah, that's pretty much all of the functionality. And this was a lot of fun for me, because I had all this information, and it was just, I was really excited to build it all out. And I can't wait to share this with my friends and get some feedback, and just keep adding features, building on top of this. There's a ton more graphing and just data visualization that I want to do. Like I want to create lists here of like my top climbs ever, or like all of my kind of dream goals and all of that. So there's a lot that I want to add, and I'm excited to get some feedback and keep working on it. So yeah, that is my app.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah. So props to Ryan for, again, including so much functionality into this application. This is basically he built his baby. Yes, which we've talked about, and had this huge, data set of all of these things that he's climbed, along with a second huge data set of all this data that came from an API about climbing, and merging it all together into a user interface that is like manageable and beautiful and interactive, I think was such a challenge, and you rose to it really well. So I want to commend you on doing that. I'll throw it over to Tori for a few questions.
Yeah, you could definitely tell this project speaks to your passion, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
You said it was a lot of fun, which you could tell you definitely went ham on, because it was. What was the most fun that you built, or what was your favorite feature?
I think the graphing was probably the coolest thing for me to see, and also to work with, because I did a lot. I did a lot on the back end. Like I made all these custom methods in my controller to basically send all this specific information to the front end that I could use in the graphs. And so that was a lot of fun, but actually seeing it visually presented is really cool. And especially seeing the map was fun for me, because I don't know, I'm looking forward to seeing this grow over the years.
For sure. Yeah. I had a question. You have a really clean way of like adding more climbs and stuff like that. When you tag a friend on that, did you make it so that it also populates your friends' climbs as well? Or did you envision this as more of a solo tracker or like a social app?
Yeah, so that's definitely something I'd like to do in the future. Right now, it's more informational, like when I tag a partner. But eventually, I would like to. I am going to give this to my friends to create profiles, and they'll be able to build all of this out for themselves. And eventually, if it gets to that point, I'd like to be able to link profiles, and you can view other people's graphing and everything, and interact in that way. But it's more right now, I guess it's more of a personal thing, because Mountain Project has a ton of like commenting and interaction and everything. So I don't necessarily need to do something to replicate that. But yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
Fair enough. It looks fantastic. There's a lot to love about this. So good job.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Ryan. This was a really fun project to watch come into existence. You built your baby and you did it, and it was a thing. And now you have so much of places that you can go. I love that you're going to share with your friends, get some actual user testing, get some feedback and things like that. So all righty. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now, and we're going to round it out for today. So I want to once again just go ahead and thank everyone for who was involved in this. Thank you to my panelists. Thanks, Peter, and thanks, Tori, for coming and paneling for me today and asking some questions. I'd, of course, love to thank one more time my amazing career advisors, Sarah and Lisa, for being a big part of the students' experience and being a part of their experience moving forward with the job search. And I'd love to thank my TAs one more time. Thank you, David and Mackenzie and Winston, for being awesome and for being the cheerleaders of this group and helping everyone get everything made. And yeah, amazing job to my students. I'm so proud of each and every one of you. And I think that all of these projects are really a testament to your incredible hard work. So once again, thank you to everyone for participating today. For those of you who are watching live on YouTube, thanks for tuning in and watching. For those of you who are watching this recording in the future, hello from the past.